Very warm welcome from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I'm Ton, I'm the founder of Online Dialogue, and I'm privileged to be asked to do this A/B testing mastery class for CXO Institute. I see some people from Germany, Canada. I know there are some people from the US in there, throughout Europe, and maybe even from more Asia and so on. Very warm welcome. I hope this time is convenient for you. It's for me. And today we're going to do 35 minutes on the fact and act process and Q&A afterwards. If you use the chat, please send your messages to everyone, not just panelists. Please send them to everyone in the chat. And Q&A also please in the chat and not the Q&A option from Zoom. Okay, today I'm going to give you some insights on what I think A/B testing is all about. As the introduction, I will discuss the fact and act process and short-term wins compared to long-term impacts. But to start off, a little story. Hang on, I have to switch. There we go. I've been A/B testing since 2002, using my own scripts. Started using expensive software in like 2006, Memetrix, multivariate testing. Google Website Optimizer came to the marketplace. It was JavaScript redirects. Used those two. And then in 2009, I started my first real dedicated company in conversion optimization. Before that, it was more like web design, or designing websites, redesigning, and then optimizing the specific website. Also had lots of affiliate sites, which I optimized based on running experiments. But in 2009, I founded Online Dialogue with my business partner, Bart Schutz, who's a psychologist. And that's what we do. We combine data and psychology. I'm more the data guy, the process guy. I like structure. I like to make structure out of a big mess of data or whatever kind of info. And when we start combining data and psychology, before 2009, when I run my experiments, of course I had my uplifts, I had my wins, but they were more like usability focused, tweaking user experience based on common sense. And my business partner was applying psychology in website design, but not testing and validating the things he put in there. So when we start combining these psychological insights on how the human brain functions and validated our ideas with data, then it became really interesting. Online Dialogue is part of the Global Optimization Group, together with companies like Wider Funnel and Conversionskraft in Germany and Conversionista in Sweden. And what we do is what we call evidence-based growth. We have lots of fun clients that enable us to learn how to run experiments. Because we have made lots of mistakes in 2009. We had to learn it the hard way because we were new to the field. The field itself was new. And we have made all the mistakes you can make in A/B testing. And that made us some sort of an expert. And that's the thing I'm going to do in the next 8 classes. Just share the things we learned along the way and make sure that even if you begin or already doing online experiments for quite a while, that you will learn from this and don't step in the giant holes and the giant mistakes we made. Of course, it's just not me. I'm able to do this because of this amazing team at Online Dialogue. We have lots of fun. This is a picture from our own event, Conversion Hotel. They make things happen. I'm just the messenger spreading the learnings we had with all these amazing clients. And while working with these clients, we face this really amazing big challenge. At all these really fun brands, on the one hand, you have this continuous optimization, this structured approach of day-to-day work, optimizing the website or mobile website, or even the whole business. And on the other hand, you have innovation, a different silo, a different part of the company where the creative DNA is located, where they think of new products, new services, and try to gain more market share by adding new products, new services, while the other half is optimizing the current services and products. And there's a huge gap between those two. Of course, the DNA is different between structured people that work with data and the creative people that work in the innovation department. but they're really siloed also on knowledge sharing. And what we believe in is that with first-party data, and let me first explain first-party data. Nowadays, you have first-party data, second-party data, and third-party data. And in the old days, innovation usually was based on third-party data. Just run a couple of surveys, see what trends are out there, how the market is growing, gather that data, and decide what innovation to work on. But first-party data, that's your own data. That's the data you're collecting from real user behavior in your own app, mobile website, in your website, from email, and so on. And we really believe in first-party data. First-party data is real data that's telling you the truth, not only now, but also for the future. And of course, there's second-party data where you buy data from other vendors and combine it with your own data. Really interesting. But there's a huge difference between third-party data and first-party data. And we believe in first-party data. We really believe in analyzing first-party data. I took a screenshot from Google Analytics because it's the most used analytics tool, but of course there are more tools out there. But these tools enable us to analyze the user behavior on our websites, mobile websites, and so on. And we can see where people drop off, and where they continue, and what their flows are through our websites. Really fascinating data. And we believed in that first-party data, but we believe even more in running online experiments on first-party data. And of course, that's why you're part of this class, this A/B testing mastery class, running online experiments. Just a proper A/B test is an online experiment. Multivariate testing is an online experiment. Everything can be an experiment. And with A/B testing, you know the drill, 50% default, 50% challenger. And let's measure and see what happens. Let's measure our first-party data to validate if what we did was right or wrong. Was it adding value or not? And this is, of course, what we do, combining analytics and psychology, and digital growth optimization. And running experiments so far always paid off. You have all these amazing business cases where you invest a certain amount of money and you have some revenue return in 6 months after implementation of the winning variants. And these business cases are always really positive. But this is short-term uplifts, making money on the short term by implementing winners from experiments. We really believe in the fact that online experiments can bridge the gap between optimization and innovation. And if you could bridge that gap between optimization and innovation, you're not only focusing on short-term growth, you're focusing on long-term growth. It's not just money now, it's growing bigger as a company in the future, getting more market share, new products, new services. I'll give you an example at the end of this slide deck in this first class. I took a quote from Jeff Bezos from Amazon. If you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness. So the more experiments you run, according to Jeff, the more innovation. That's a really interesting point of view. We used to believe that big fishes were always eating the small fish. Big companies were eating small companies. And of course, in this new internet startup world, it sometimes seems that small fishes are eating the big fish. But that's not exactly true. The reason why some small fishes are eating the big fish is because in this new world, this is a quote from Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, in the new world, it's not the big fish which eats the small fish. It's the fast fish which eats the slow fish. So you need to be fast. So the big rhetorical question for me to you is, how many online experiments are you running per year? Do you know how many experiments you could run per year? Do you know how many online experiments you should run per year? Because this differs, of course, for everyone in the whole group. Going back to Jeff, he always states this quote too. Our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. So to him, it's a direct cause. The more experiments they run, the more money they make. More success, more growth. So how many online experiments are you running per year? It's a matter of speeding up. If you're slow, you're going to get eaten or even die. If you're fast, you can win more market. I took a graph from my old management science study book. This is how companies grow. On the horizontal axis, you have time span. And on the vertical axis, you have loss and gain. And of course, in the beginning of a new company, a new product, or new service, you're losing money. Discovery phase, you have to find your product market fit. Once you find this product market fit, you can grow. And this is from an old study book, so it's not growth, but duplication. Think of McDonald's or Starbucks. We have something, let's go into duplication modes and be fast and be the biggest. And nowadays is growth, getting more users before your competition is getting the users. Turn them into customers before your competition is turning them into customers, if you have the product market fit. Because then you make money and then you want to scale up. You want to grow as fast as possible. But at some point, growth will decline. Your product or service is getting outdated. So you come in phase 3, which is rethink and modify. You have to come up with something new, a new product or a new service that takes you back to phase 1, discovery phase, and you hope to find again a right product market fit and grow again. And the big challenge is during phase 2, once you grow and grow really fast, you want to build up knowledge to make sure if you end up in phase 3, you have enough knowledge to be more successful in phase 1 again for the new product or the new service. So you want to run experiments to grow faster, but along the way, you want to gather insights, validated user insights, to come up with better hypotheses for new products and new services for the long run. Now that's the value of online experiments. Online experiments itself dates back many, many, many years. This is William Edwards Deming, a brilliant US statistician who was sent out to Japan after the Second World War to help rebuild the country. And he started working at the Toyota car factory. And what he invented was the Deming Quality Circle, or nowadays known as the Deming Quality Circle. Plan, do, check, and act. He knew that it was really expensive to rebuild a production line from a car factory. If you have one and you think you can optimize it, you really want to know for sure if you're going to rebuild it, that it's going to deliver a higher quality or faster or better or whatever metric. So what he did was running small experiments. So he planned small experiments. He ran those experiments. He checked if the quality improved, the quality of the car or the small parts of the car that were created in this specific part of the production line. And then he acted upon it. And based on all those learnings, he was able to speed up and improve the quality of the Toyota production line. It's the same like running online experiments. This is what we do, running A/B tests. We want to validate if we have a better result, if it improves quality or gives more conversions, and then we want to implement it. And A/B testing became really popular over the last couple of years. This is eConsultancy. They do a yearly study on what people use to improve conversions, what companies use to improve conversions. And A/B testing has been on top there the last 4 years. It came up since 5 years ago, but it has been on top for the last 4 years. And if you ask those same companies, this is a study for 900 plus companies, if you ask those same companies, methods you plan to use next year to improve conversion rates, A/B testing is again number 1. So you could say A/B testing is really hot. And from that same study, they asked companies, how big was your growth in sales last year? They had a large increase, small increase, or no change. And they compared it with the average number of experiments run per month. So 6.4, 4.7, 1.6. So there seems to be some sort of relationship between growth in sales and number of experiments. Of course, you could discuss companies that have large increase in sales, maybe have bigger budgets, so they could spend more money on running experiments. That could be, but this is what managers see. And if a manager sees this kind of stats, they will think, oh, we need to run more experiments. Especially if you look at this chart, it's a bit older one, but again from eConsultancy, they ask this every year, but they now stopped asking this because the results are every year exactly the same. You see 5 years in a row, they asked these 900 companies, are you satisfied with your conversion rates? No one is ever saying, yes, it's like 0, 1%, 2%. No one is ever very satisfied. Some are quite satisfied. Majority is neither satisfied or dissatisfied, but a larger proportion is dissatisfied, quite dissatisfied, and very dissatisfied compared to very satisfied or quite satisfied. So this is human behavior. Humans are just typically a bit more dissatisfied than satisfied. They always want more. They always want to have higher conversion rates. So if you know this, if every manager always wants higher conversion rates, and you know that the #1 method to improve conversion rates is A/B testing, the answer is always, we should start testing or test more. Because if we just run more experiments, more A/B tests, our growth problems will disappear. We just speed up the number of experiments. No, of course not. Of course not. Growth problems will not disappear by just running more experiments. A/B testing is not a solution. It's a methodology. It's a way of validating hypotheses. It's part of a continuous optimization program. If you go back to Deming, his quality circle, plan, do, check, act, what's hardly ever shown is that he took a second step. So he performed all these small experiments, but based on all these small experiments by plan, do, check, act, at some point, he gathered all those insights and he consolidated his learnings by creating a new standard. Standardization was a really important part of the Deming approach. So lots of small learnings, and based on all these small learnings, he could rebuild a new production line with way less risk of not performing. So he created a new standard and then started exploring again, running more experiments, and then take a next step. So this is how you perform experiments for long-term growth, gathering insights, validation. I'll give you an example for a client we already have since the beginning of Online Dialogue. This is a Dutch website, or even this is the English one, I now see. It's a Dutch hotel chain. They're really big over here, the biggest hotel chain in the Netherlands, Van der Valk. This is the Amsterdam Airport hotel website. Every hotel website looks the same, but it didn't look like this way back in 2009 when we started working with them. This was their website in 2009. Simple, maybe a bit ugly, but it's not about prettiness, it's about conversions, of course. What people did over here, they clicked on reservations, it's almost the same as in English, in the menu on the left sidebar, and then they ended up at this page. It says, "Dear guest, booking has never been that simple. On this page, you could fast, reliable, and 24/7 book a hotel room." Well, interesting. I would like to do that, please. And what you have to do is go back to the left sidebar and then click on hotel rooms, which is below reservations, and then you will end up in the booking engine. So the A/B test we run, the experiment we run back then to prove that you could optimize things by running experiments was this A/B test. We added a call to action, a really ugly one. Back then, we didn't have any UX designers in our company, so we just created something in Paint or in PowerPoint with some USPs next to it, free cup of coffee and 15 minutes of free internet back in 2009. And of course, this was a big winner. And of course, you could ask the question, why run this experiment? Call to action missing. This is low-hanging fruit. This is like a hygiene factor. Just add the call to action. Don't waste money on running experiments. Add the call to action and conversions will improve. And of course, nowadays, when we enter something like this, of course, we will say, well, let's create a new just normal usability focused, simple new page, and then start optimizing, because it doesn't make sense to optimize this specific page. But back then it was really interesting to see this big winner and how much money you could win by implementing this one. And it's a way of validating something that's broken on the page. But again, it doesn't have to be an experiment, could be done by a user test too, or just an expert review. But this is what we did back then in 2009, and this is what we call page tests. We just went to, back then even Google Analytics, we found out that there was a big drop-off of users on this specific page, so they took all the effort to click on reservations, and then they stopped. And then we looked at this specific page and we said, well, there's a call to action mission. Let's run this experiment. So optimizing the specific page makes sure people are able to do what they want to do. But along the way we grew, and we grew from page optimization, low-hanging fruit, where you could discuss if you should run an experiment to optimize this. We grew to hypothesis optimization, hypothesis testing. We got more and more behavior experts in our company. And of course, we still analyzed the websites, but we also took the expert view. This is a really important page. This is 3 years later, new website, 2012. This is step one of the booking engine. You have to pick your dates, number of nights, number of people, adults, children, and so on. And then you can check if there are rooms available in this specific hotel. And the thing you see on the right side, this big USP list with this green check marks, this was already a winning experiment. There was nothing there. And in this experiment, all these USPs were added. So people had the motivation to go on to the next steps and go to this boring booking funnel. But our behavior expert looked at these USPs and said, well, this can be done different. I'll zoom out, it's Dutch, apologies for that. But these are so many USPs, these are really hard to process. And once people start entering the booking engine, they need the full attention, they need the ratio, and the amount of energy they have for using ratio is really low. So they already need this in filling out all the forms in the booking funnel. So maybe you're depleting them by showing them so many USPs. They probably see the green check marks, so that's a positive signal, but they don't consume the USPs. So let's rewrite these USPs and layer them. And the fun thing is that first we did a survey to ask users what they thought was the most important USP. And they said being able to cancel 24 hours before arrival was really important, like the most important one. And also free uses of internet was really important. And lowest price guarantee wasn't the most important one. But when we started running experiments, in the end we found out that if we put this one in there, lowest price guarantee as the top one, it has the highest conversions. So here we learned that what people say is not the same as what people do. But also we learned that changing the dialogue you're having with your user, changing the way you talk to them, changing the way they process your information by layering the information, because the B variation is exactly the same copy as A. It's the same USPs, but layered differently. Now, if you do that, you can find big wins. So adding motivation, we learned that adding motivation based on hypothesis is creating more uplifts once you're done with taking away the low-hanging fruit, which is usability optimization shown in the first example. So we moved from page tests to more hypothesis testing. But then the next step is this hypothesis was still optimizing one specific page. Of course, the next step is optimizing the customer journey. People just don't look at only one page. They look at several pages. They even look at competitors. They have a whole journey while they're trying, in this case, to book a hotel room. And this is the current website. And what we found out that the main behavior of users on this website was like half of them is using the navigation, go to rooms, packages, see restaurant stuff, wellness, whatsoever. And the other half is using the booking widgets, which is on the bottom end of above the fold part of the screen. Check in, check out, check availability. And we also knew that you had two types of visitors. Visitors that already know what kind of hotel they want to book a room in. They probably have Booking.com or Expedia opened on a different tab in the browser. They have seen the hotel, they know the date, they've seen the price at Expedia, and they just go to Google, type in the hotel name, and land on this specific website and check the price to see if a direct booking is more affordable. And the other half didn't make their mind up yet. They're just searching for hotels, maybe through Google Maps or whatsoever, and they still want to learn about this hotel. So two types of main user behavior based on interviews and surveys and just common sense from the people from the hotel business. And what we did, we created a survey. So if you clicked as first click on the menu or first click in the booking widget, it always asks this Lightbox survey pop-up with two questions. Did you already decide which hotel you want to stay in? Yes or no? And are you currently comparing the price of the rooms in this hotel at other websites? Yes or no? And what we did, we created this Lightbox ourselves, and the answers are injected into Google Analytics as events. So now we were able to create segments based on the answers from the survey. And what we found out is that people that are here just to compare prices, the majority will use the booking widget. Like 65 to 70%, that's just price comparing as a main task, is using the booking widget. The people that use the menu, the navigation area, also 65 to 70% didn't make their mind up yet. They still have to choose a hotel. So these are different customer journeys. And once we knew this, we started to reanalyze past experiments. And this is the booking engine itself. And we always had this big white space on the right sidebar below the now €0 price. And we used that space a lot to just try to add some motivational messaging over there. But it didn't work. It was never positive, insignificant results. But then when we started adding these messages close to the prices, we saw some uplifts, but not like the biggest ones. But when we reanalyzed the test, we found out if you look at the price comparing group that just went straight through the booking engine, all these motivational messages really close to the price really made a high impact. And for the group that first used the navigation, it didn't have such a big impact. The motivational messages in the big white space on the right sidebar had a way bigger impact for that specific group than the price comparing group. So that was really interesting insight. So we have different customer journeys and we need to treat them differently when we optimize the journey. So tests we started running then was more like, okay, let's try to see if we can find the next step. If we look at this specific website, half of them is using navigation, half of them is using the booking widget as the first click. What we would like to do is being able to more split the traffic and have all the price comparison people into this one specific entry point and all the still not sure where to book people in a different journey. So we came up with new homepages, new landing pages. Okay, if you want to check price, dive in here. And if you want to do something else, go here. Let's take out navigation. So let's force them to take one specific route. Because once they have a specific route, we can even just create two separate booking funnels, one for the price comparing people and one for just still not decided what to do people. And this one was way too much focused on getting more people into the booking funnel. So yes, every price comparing person entered the booking funnel, but also the majority of the people that were not being able to decide yet what to do entered the booking funnel directly. But we're getting better and better. We're doing a redesign now. And what you will see if you go to this website, you saw the specific messaging near the price, book with your account, get a 5% bonus, easily control your booking and so on. All the price comparing people will have this kind of motivational message to just get them to the next step. Don't book at Expedia, book directly this hotel because the price is at least the same, you get more benefits and so on. And if you take the routes of the people that are more like still not decided what to do, that use the navigation, and then once you end up in a bookings funnel, if you take the navigation, you won't see this kind of messaging. You will see way more messaging like you did a good job, you took the best offer, and so on. So separate booking funnels, really fascinating. So this is more customer journey optimization. So going from page optimization to hypothesis to customer journey. And this is where we based our model on. This is how we grew with this client from 2009 to now 2018, working with them for 9 years, really understanding their users. And it's based on a methodology. And it's what we call the methodology of online experiments. And of course, Deming had his Deming model, plan, do, check, act. And if you dive more into science, you will see that every scientific method has the same kind of approach. You make observations, you think of interesting questions, you come up with hypotheses, you develop testable predictions, gather data, and then you refine, alter, expand, reject hypothesis, could be two. But at some point, you are able to develop general theories based on lots of validation. And then you start over again, make observations, and go on. So it's always this never-ending circle of learning and validating and develop general theories. And our model has the same approach. And back in the old days when we did page optimization, we used to have the same model, and then every experiment would go through every single step. So there should be some sort of finding why we want to run experiments. It could be big bounce rate on a specific page. Then we analyze the specific page. We come up with the creation, how to improve this. We run the experiment, run the test, analyze results, then combine learnings from this experiment with other experiments, and then we tell everyone in the company and implement the winner. So there was always the test by test approach. But once we grew over the years, it became more a 3-layer model. Of course, it's ideally fitting our logo, but that's just being an agency, a consultancy agency, you always come up with your own model. But I think in the end, every scientific approach of running experiments will have the same kind of model, same kind of structure. And for us, the outside layer is the customer journey. So nowadays, when we started the clients, we really take a deep dive into the customer journey. We take a deep dive in customer data, web analytics, heat map. We take a deep dive in voice of the customer, surveys, interviews. And we take a deep dive in scientific articles, specifically written on the specific niche or branch that this client is in. We take a deep dive into past experiments that have been run. We consume all this information to come up with some main hypothesis. So we do a really big deep dive that will enable us to run at least 50 to 100 experiments, one big study. And this will give us a couple of hypotheses. And then once we have this hypothesis based on all this research, then we go into the create, test, analyze. Create, test, analyze. So run lots of experiments. Try to validate these hypotheses or reject these hypotheses. So combining learners is combining lots of experiments, being able to tell if some hypotheses are true or some hypotheses are false. And then in the end, we are able to optimize the customer journey based on all this proven hypothesis. So it's more like this, running lots of experiments really fast, learning. On a slower pace, you will learn if hypotheses are true or not. And then even on a bit more slower pace, you will learn about the customer journey. And of course, winning experiments should be implemented and make you money now. But really knowing about how to optimize the customer journey, that's the big fish. That's the long-term goal, to be able to grow faster than your competitors. So I'll go there step by step in this FactorNet model. Step 1, find what's going on. Like I said, we have this model which we call 5V. I told this in the introduction video. And we will take a deep dive in this approach next Tuesday. So this class number 3 will be all about customer behavioral study. And of course, we will investigate the strategy of the company we will work for, know their KPIs, know their targets, so our hypotheses are aligned with where they want to grow. And we have the verified first-party data, or even validated if you want, previous experiments. View of the customer, web analytics heat maps, verified second-party data, science, and competitors. I'll give you some interesting insights on how to spy on your competitors in the coming classes, and of course, voice of the customer. So really a big study, and especially science is really valuable. Of course, you have Google Scholar nowadays, where you can take a deep dive in any scientific article that's published out there on human behavior. And of course, you will be charged money if you want to read these papers. But nowadays you have Deep Dive, which is like the Spotify for scientific articles. You pay a fixed fee per month. You can read any article you want to. And you have Semantic Scholar. And I'll give you some more tips and insights on how to find scientific articles that are relevant for you in the next coming classes. But what we do with all this data, we will gather this data and what we call a determinant of behavior study. So we come up with main hypotheses. And this is the starting strategy, the main hypothesis. And we will plot those main hypotheses on the psychological main hypothesis we want to try to validate on specific parts of your customer journey. And this will be explained also more in depth in the next coming classes. And we will plot them to see where do we think a specific hypothesis will have a high potential and where it has low potential. And this is all based on this 5V model, which we go through in class number 3. So outcome hypothesis, if we do this among this user segment, then this will happen because of this reason. And then what we do, we kind of prioritize this hypothesis first. So we don't prioritize experiments. We do a deep dive, deep research, come up with hypothesis, and then we kind of prioritize this hypothesis based on the information we have. We found out that at least half of the hypothesis can already be proven by the data in your possession, by your own web analytics data, by voice of the customer data, by previous experiments. So we always first prioritize hypothesis, and prioritization is also part of this course. I think it's class 4 or 5. We take a deep dive there and come up with several spreadsheets how to prioritize your hypothesis and how to score them. So deep dive research, prioritize hypothesis, and of course we're going to calculate our testing bandwidth. Now this answers the big question, how many experiments could you run on your websites? How many experiments should you run? And this is part of the class for next Thursday, where we go into test potential and testing bandwidth and the ROR model. And I'll give you some calculators which you can use to calculate your own testing bandwidth. So deep research in hypothesis, knowing where you could run experiments. If you know this, you can create your experiments roadmap. And once you have an experiments roadmap and know how many experiments you can run and what kind of experiments you should run, which hypothesis you should validate, then it's all a matter of speeding up. And speeding up has been a bottleneck of lots of our clients. But nowadays, of course, there are drag and drop tools out there that you can use. You can use them for small experiments, chasing headline copies, swapping some images and so on. That's all fine, but once you start running larger experiments, which you most often need to do to be able to create some impact that's measurable. If you want to create large experiments, you have to write code. And there's always a big shortage of developers. And even in our company, Online Dialogue, we have behavioral experts, we have web analysts, we have user researchers, we have UX designers, but we don't have developers ourselves. We started a sister company, so disclaimer here, I'm also co-owner of this company. Used to be Testing HC, is now called Team Croco. I know there are more vendors out there, but of course I love this one, and this is the one we use for Online Dialogue. They're just a dedicated A/B test development and design resource. So if you're short of this resource, you just can hire them. You can outsource it and be able to be faster in your experiments. Because if you have the proper IDs, if you've done the right research, you know how many experiments you could run, and you know what kind of experiments you want to run, then it's all a matter of speeding up. Create, test, analyze, create, test, analyze. So make sure your resources on design and development are in place. And once you run so many experiments to be able to validate this hypothesis or reject them, you want to make sure you store all your learnings. As not only your experiment outcomes, also all the research you do up front is really valuable for long-term insight. It's the combination of the research you do up front before you start running an experiment, and of course the outcomes of the experiment. You want to store these, you want to label these. We will go more in depth in how to store and label them in, I think, class 6 or 7. Those insights are really valuable for the long run. If you want to be able to consolidate, to create a new standard, you want to have all these insights in one specific place. And of course, based on these insights, your prioritization is going to change. If you reprioritize your hypothesis, it will also be based on verified experiments. So once you know what's working, these hypotheses will go more to the top. And you will dive deeper in getting more insights in the specific hypothesis. And make more money now and make more money in the long run. Because this is a kind of graph, this is a graph from a couple of months. This is the number of winning experiments at a specific client in a high competitive market. Of course, in the beginning, you always have this low-hanging fruit, like adding the call to action where there's no call to action. But at some point, you're done with low-hanging fruit. And what we see at lots of companies is that the number of winning experiments is declining. Even declining so big that they're dropping below the percentage of winners where the ROI is still positive, and where you maybe even are just implementing false positives, which we'll go into more in depth in the next coming classes. The thing you want to do, you want to keep on growing in your number of winning experiments. And if you learn along the way and you're getting better and better in the prioritization part of your hypothesis, you will have more wins after a couple of months. So you get more ROI of your experimentation program. So in this way, experimentation is not only adding value at the short term, it's also adding value at the long term. Growing, growing, and growing. So that's our methodology of online experiments. This is why we created Fact and Act, the testing phase, hypothesis, customer journey. And the fun thing is, there's one part missing, because it says find, analyze, create, test, analyze, combine. But step 7 is tell. So you're combining all these insights in this one platform that you're using to store your insights in. Well, then you want to share this information, and you want to use this to grow the company. And this is an example of one of our clients where we just created this infograph of all the stuff we learned in the difference between people. This is an e-commerce shop. Some people were buying something for themselves. Some people were buying for someone else. And there was a huge difference in behavior and how to motivate them. And they also have local stores. It's a retail company. So the knowledge we gathered from running online experiments in the difference between for me buying and not for me buying was in this way also translated to the local salespeople in the local stores to be better in selling in this local stores. Transform by telling stories. Really valuable to do this. And this is also how we translate the value of online experiments in the long term. Because I just told you test, hypothesis, customer journey. But if we speak to upper management and owners of companies, we use different terms. We say this create, test, analyze, create, test, analyze. That's a transactional phase. It's making money now. But by running all these experiments, we're able to gather more information about your users. Like you saw the infographic that can be used in local stores too. But even if you gather more data, you're even able to transform your company. So it's a transformational level that is the biggest value. This is how Deming meant experimentation to be. Create a new standard or even create a new product. And to end up, I'll have 2 examples. This is an e-commerce company selling beds online. It was already a bit optimized. Some experiments were winning and got implemented. And it just went on and on. At some point, we found out that we had to add this message where we translated the price of the bed to how much money we were expecting the bed would cost you per month. So they had a different attribution on the price, especially if it's an expensive bet like 2,000 euros or $2,000 or $4,000. If you translate it in a price per month, because the bet will last for 10 years, so per month it will only cost you this. That was a big win, and we implemented that one. And then we just went on. We learned that we should show the brand name if it's a really expensive bet, and the brand name is really important for this specific bets. And then we learned that this USP should be there. Winning experiment implemented the winner. And if you give away something for free, you should add it directly to the image. Otherwise, people won't see it. And also, this one was a winner. You can pay safely now through the website, or you just have to pay once we will deliver this at your home. Don't pay now, just pay at delivery. That's fine too. But these were all winning experiments, and they all got implemented. But at some point, this page really became a mess, a big visual mess. So what our UX designer did, he took all the learnings from all these experiments and created this page. A new beginning, a new standard, based on all the learnings we had from winning experiments. And the thing we wanted to reach is at least have the same conversion rate, then grow further. But it even won. We run an experiment comparing this one against this one. And this one outperformed the already optimized page. So the new beginning was even outperforming the original one. And then the big question, of course, is, would we have been able to go from this page to this page, having such a big improvement in conversion rate without all the knowledge we gathered from running all those experiments, finding all these winning variations? Would we have gone from this one to this one? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we would have ended up at a different page if we just did a redesign and not on this one. So here you see the real value of running online experiments on first-party data. Taking the bigger step. And of course, there's still this big challenge, this gap between innovation and optimization. Because this optimization of this company selling bets online, that's not innovation. That's just optimizing the existing product, the existing service. So I'll give you a final example for this big challenge. This is Hostelworld. Hostelworld is like the Booking.com or the Expedia for hostels. They're really big, lots of conversions, so you can run lots of experiments. And we did a full customer behavior study on their website and mobile site. We came up with this hypothesis, run lots of experiments together with them. Great company to work together with. And we already knew from science that safety is really important when people are booking hostels. Because you're sleeping together with like 8 people or 12 people or 4 or even 16 in one room, and can these people be trusted? Are they going to be drunk, or what's the average atmosphere at this specific hostel? But once we started mentioning safety at hostels, like when we knew this is a really safe hostel, really good reviews, 24/7 staff available, great hostel, but once we mentioned safe, conversions would drop. Not only for this specific hostel, for the whole website. It's like adding the sentence, please subscribe to our newsletter, we won't send you spam. And once you mention the word spam, your conversion rate probably will drop from email subscriptions. We face the same at Hostelworld. Adding safety lowers conversions. So what we learned along the way, if we implicitly would mention the fact that this hostel is safe by telling them this is really a wonderful location if it was like in a safe neighborhood. Superb staff if it's 24/7, and if it's really clean, also an implicit mention of safety, excellent cleanliness was added as a badge. And when we started adding this implicit saying of safety, conversions would go up for the whole website. Of course, also for the specific hostels that are this good, but also the conversion rate of the whole website went up. So we learned that safety is indeed really important. but we should not mention it. And this is something that you can take further. If you take this information to the innovation department of this company, they would say, okay, we know about safety issues, not only in the hostel, also by walking from the hostel to the city where the hostel is in. You want to go to the downtown area, see the city, and then you return maybe at night. And we know that there are some US startups like Companion, the Companion app, that created this app for people at universities. If they don't feel safe, they can just install the app, attach all their friends, and once you stop walking or your phone is shaken through each other, it will ask the simple question, are you still okay? And you just have to reply with yes. And if you don't reply, all messaging will go on, 911 gets called, everything gets recorded, all your friends will get messages with your last location. And luckily, most people won't have to use this actively. They're always safe, but it really makes them feel more safe. But this is a great app for Hostelworld to build because they have a big user base. They already have a big install of their own app. If they add this one, and people can use this to feel more safe without implicitly saying it's about safety. But they will feel more safe walking to the city and going back to the hostel. And while they use this app, you will gather lots and lots of data on how people walk, how they feel safe. So you can help them take the right direction. And you can sell this data to local governments, telling them where it's safe to walk and where it's not safe to walk. That's real fascinating data, which you can exploit and even grow a new company on. So this is how the growth of the existing products, Hostelworld, speed up, speed up, speed up. Also teach them some new knowledge which they can use to new products for a new discovery phase. And once the current product dies, they will still have this big installed base of apps where people just walk around the cities, giving them data that's really valuable for lots of organizations. So they just found a way to extend the new company. And this is how continuous optimization efforts are accelerating the growth of a company. So the final question remains, how many online experiments are you running per year? That's it for today. This was lesson number 1 about the Fact and Act process and introduction A/B testing. I took some more time. I practiced this one a couple of times and then it took less time, but it's different in presenting online. So apologies for going 10 minutes over time, but we still have time for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat to ask some questions. And of course, I'm really curious on how many online experiments you are already running per year. Thanks for the compliments that are in the chat. The next class, by the way, is this coming Thursday. We're going to do 8 classes. It's always on Tuesday and Thursday, same time. This was number 1. Number 2 is next in 2 days, in 48 hours, January 18th, where I will go in depth in the ROAR model and testing bandwidth calculations. And I'll give you some spreadsheets to be able to do your own calculations afterwards. Okay, a question from Christian asking, how long does the full process of running through your research process before hypothesizing usually go? Good question. It depends per client how much research material is already available and what the quality of the material is. Because we bump into clients where they've run 200 experiments or even more. But once we take a deep dive in the technical setup and the statistics, we will find out that all these experiments are mostly useless because based on wrong data. So then we have a throwback and need some more time to get more data. But for most clients, it takes a month. It takes a month to take a deep dive, do the interviews, gather some survey information, take a deep dive into analytics, take a deep dive into scientific research, and then come up with the whole document of the determinants of behavior and the main hypothesis. So 4 to 5 weeks, then we're done, and then we can start testing. Some clients it takes longer. It could take even 2 months. But what we sometimes do in the meantime, we will start running experiments, validating the setup, but also gathering learnings based on these first experiments. They're not based on hypothesis, they're based on common sense. So the winning percentage is mostly lower. But analyzing the results from these experiments are really valuable. And these are already first-party data learnings, so we can add them to the whole study if it takes more time. So usually 4 to 5 weeks. I look forward to really breaking the process down and how you make decisions along the way and not just the final decision. Yes, fully agree, we will go in depth step by step. Do you work full-time for each of your clients? It depends. We have clients where we have a full optimization team. One full team at our company runs 4 experiments per week or starts 4 experiments per week. This is a full-time web analyst. It means 32 hours working because they also need some hours to have internal discussions and so on. It means a full-time UX designer, full-time developer, but we use them from Team Croco. It means a part-time human behavior experts and a part-time project leads. So that's like 4 to 5 people dedicated, running 4 proper experiments. But these are like larger experiments that we do. But we also have clients where we do just 1 experiment per month. And that could be large experiments, could be smaller experiments. It depends on the maturity of the company, the number of users they have, and so on and so on. But we will dive in that the next class when we go to testing bandwidth and testing potential. Which tools are you using for A/B testing for mobile apps? Yes, Optimize being mentioned here. We do lots of scripting ourselves. So we just have our own testing libraries, which we can run through the tech management solution. That's mostly for websites or mobile websites, but for mobile apps, you need to install a framework and decide upfront where you want to run experiments. And of course, Optimize is being used to. We are tool agnostic, so we're mostly using the tools that our clients are already using. And if not, we will do the pitch and come up with the proper solution. A/B Tasty is also being used for mobile testing. These tools are getting better and better. Like 2-3 years ago, it used to be really bad in testing for apps, but it's getting better and better. Initial question catalog for the client who works this out. What if the client can't answer your question? How do you start your initial basic scientific research? Yeah, scientific research is really interesting. Question from Seb. We will go more in depth how to do this because the language that scientific people speak, or the language from the papers that have real value in there, is a different kind of language that we use to speak in marketing or tech. So you have to learn how to go through this. But I will go more in depth in the coming classes how to get value from science. And also the question from Andrew asking what fields of scientific research are most useful. Well, of course, everything that's more about how people make decisions. So the consumer behavioral science part, everything from Daniel Kahneman and so on are really insightful. But I will give you some more insights on that. Probably also will share some useful material and some useful ways how to dive in there in the next coming classes or the Facebook group. Will you nevertheless let us know about the A/B testing tools in this class? Yes, especially the final session. We will dive into all sorts of solutions from A/B testing to multivariate testing to AI, bandits, and we'll go through tools. And what I always also do is I will share a spreadsheet from all the tools that will be mentioned along the way in the Facebook group. So you can see all the tools mentioned, click on there, and there are some bonus tools in there. So also try to piggyback from your knowledge. If you know about a specific tool or plugin or something you're really, really fond of, just let me know and I will add it to the extra tools in this specific spreadsheet. Okay. While defining different customer journeys, which research methodologies do you usually use? Yeah, that's a good question, which will be answered in the class next Tuesday, where we dive into customer journey research. So I will go in depth there. Okay. Yeah, I know there are lots of tools on Conversion Excel. Lots of tools, yeah. I'll, we can always do a fun wrap up at the end, but the final class will be about tools and methodology. So lots of tools, don't worry. Okay, so far, thank you for watching. I see we're running out of time. I know from the size of the slide decks that this was the biggest one in number of slides. So I assume the other ones will be a bit shorter in time. And indeed, we'll get to 30-35 minutes to have some more Q&A time. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the Facebook group. I will be around. Recording, yes. CXL will upload a recording of this session in the classroom so you can rewatch it anytime you would like. Yes, will be posted in 24 hours max. Great. Thanks for attending. See you in 48 hours for class 2, ROR and testing bandwidth calculations. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Take care. Thanks for attending.